Hey crew, you're listening to episode 19. In this episode, Maya joined me and we talked about the opinion paradox. You got to listen to find out what that is. The importance of open dialogue, religion. What else?
We talked about, the power to control your own mind. A really good book that I'm reading.
Very.
A lot about, debating to win versus debating to learn and having an understanding of people and the way you are in the world.
100%. So we hope you like it and
Tune in.
We'll see you at the end. Bye-bye.
What's up, crew?
Well, in my opinion, boy, what the hell, boy?
You need to ask yourself, why aren't you? Kind of controversial, but I don't think we should. I just broke down crying. You're listening to Free to Grow with Jerome and Baga. New episode every Tuesday.
What's up, crew? Welcome back to another episode. You're listening to The Opinion Paradox with Maya Fuerstenberg.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So today we are going to be talking about a lot of super interesting stuff, talking about the importance of having an opinion, where that can go wrong, the dangerous consequences of that,
Yes.
religion, the beauty of everyday life.
Yeah,
Let's go there. It just goes on and on. But before we dive into all of that, let's learn a little bit about Maya. Tell them about yourself.
Well, Jerome and I met at Dal, and we've been here, we're in semester 2 now. We met first semester in their room?
Yeah. We have a mutual friend.
Mutual friends.
Like a condo, apartment style dorm.
Yeah, we met in the living room. We had our school had a little bit of a later start. So we kind of met during those empty weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we kind of immediately had some great conversations and good discussions, and that's how we got here.
Some of them were very questionable. I think our first great conversation was talking about conspiracy theories.
Yes.
In the How Hall Dining Hall, which is always a great time. And yeah, I think from there we kind of came to a mutual understanding that we really enjoyed talking, discussing the importance of open dialogue, which is always important and very hard to find today. So
absolutely. And Jerome has always said from the beginning that I should start my own podcast.
I think you will see. Follow
This
it.
is my debut.
This is the debut.
Yeah.
There will be a podcast dropping on her Instagram soon.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So first, let's you guys already know a little bit about me, but let me start with you. What are if you were to explain yourself to someone, what are the 3 things, if someone else was talking about you and they're oh, let me tell someone about my friend Maya, what are the 3 things you think they'll say?
I think they'll say, or I'd hope they'd say.
Hope. Little bias, yeah.
I hope they would say I have gratitude. That's a very big thing for me. I feel you know that. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of I hope people would kind of think of me as somebody who, is appreciative of, what I have and the opportunities I've been given. Mm-hmm. I hope I would be thought of as someone with a strong sense of identity and a strong sense of self. I feel that's really important, and kind of an understanding of who I am and who I want to be in the world, which obviously, our frontal lobes are still developing. We're not there yet. Exactly. But kind of a general idea of a vision for myself and for, what I want to bring to the world. Mm-hmm. And also, hopefully, I'd be somebody who is a good friend.
Awesome.
That'd be really important.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce. I don't say any of those things.
Oh, what do you say?
No, yeah, for sure. I think that's really reflected on the fact that you're on the podcast. So it's awesome to have you. One topic that's always come up in our discussions over and over again is religion.
Yes.
Me personally, I'm not a super religious person, but I've had the chance to interact with people of so many different faiths. The high school I went to was Catholic. I wouldn't say it was necessarily super Catholic compared to some other schools that I've heard about, in the sense that a lot of the student body wasn't practicing Catholics, but it was a really cool opportunity to observe the faith of Christianity. I grew up as a Christian. I went to church when I was really young. I sang in my church choir for 8 years. But that was more just because I was born into Christianity. And then when I was maybe in grade 5 or grade 6, I kind of faith out of there. But more recently, in grade 11, I had the opportunity to take a religion class, and it was kind of just teaching me about a bunch of different faiths other than Christianity, because they were trying to like build our worldview and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me the impression that although I don't consider myself a religious person, I can still really respect those who practice religion regularly, and I can see like the benefits of religion for an individual person and the society. So like, what do you think about all that?
I am very Jewish, right? So I went to Jewish high school and Jewish day school. I consider myself, it's an ethno-religion. So both as an ethnicity, I come from a people who are Jewish. And then I also, have the religious practices. So I speak the language, not fluent, but I I have a lot of appreciation for Judaism, not in a super, intensely religious way, because that's also not how I was brought up, but more of a, sense of community. And I am a big believer in like the Jewish community and the way you feel and going to synagogue and allowing that to expand outwards. You can follow my society on Instagram. But I also agree that I think religion is really important. And I think religion is such a fundamental factor of society because it instills such a sense of morality into people, right? And like the same way that, children are told when they're really young, believe in Santa Claus. Santa Claus is watching you when you're sleeping and when you're awake and always watching even when you don't see him. And the way that kind of gives children a sense of morality. Well, I should behave well because if I don't, then there's a threat. And I think that's a similar, religious standpoint where people need religion in order to give them guidelines. And although I think that it can obviously be taken out of context and there's boundaries.
It's a close line for sure, I would say.
Absolutely, like everything, But I think religion's really important in society because we need a sense of, that's why do we think we have the 10 Commandments? It's like you need to be told these are certain things right from wrong, exactly, like right off the bat. And, whether we believe in like each word in its individuality or like the idea of religion as a whole and in like the sense of community it brings, right? Like the same way I always say that like that's a huge part of my identity. I think I resonate more with my Judaism than I do with, being Canadian or being part of certain whatever. This is kind of, at the end of the day, you feel like that's your home. And so I think religion is like a big home for a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I like have a lot of respect for as well.
And like, especially when you're saying at the beginning where it kind of instills that sense of morality kind of sense. One thing that I found really interesting from just interacting with people of different faiths and learning about it is how incredibly similar the religions are when it comes to like their not necessarily the specific stories, but like what the teachings are. Essentially everything boils down to essentially like the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated.
Especially with like the monotheistic religions, right? They're all everything's really similar. We all stem from the same Old Testament.
100%.
So it's kind of, if it all extends and there's the belief in one God, of course there's going to be like so much overlap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I think it's honestly really important, especially as a young child, I would say, which is why I feel like as a society we accept the fact of like raising your children a part of the faith that you were brought into.
Yeah.
Especially, well, I feel like our generation is a little different. I feel like we're gonna be like the last. I feel like our parents were the last generation to do that because I feel like the amount of practicing religious people across any faith from like our parents' generation to now Gen Z is like, like huge decline across everything. But I think it honestly is important and very simple for children to understand, like from any faith. But let me just pull from 10 Commandments because that's what I know. Thou shalt not steal. It's like, okay, this is like super simple. And then if I do that, maybe I'm gonna go to hell. Let's like not do that. Super simple for like a 5-year-old mind to comprehend. Yeah, it's great. Or you have Santa Claus who watches you watch.
Yeah, it's not even part of mine.
Yeah.
And well, I also think religion is like, I really believe in religion as a choice. So I kind of feel like even as a kid, like you have to go to synagogue and you like have to put on your tights and you're like kicking your feet and you're like, this is not what I want to do right now. But now that I'm older, I have, luckily my parents made it not something loose in my like house growing up, but I was given the ability to want to be a part of a religion, which I think is something also really important. Because when it's like pushed on people too much, they could either go one of two ways.
Exactly.
And they could love it or they could resent it. And I think that's not how I feel at all with my like sense of Judaism. I think it's something that I've like chosen to connect more to because now I have greater gratitude.
Exactly.
And I was always part of like a really small Jewish circle growing up. And now that I'm not, now that I'm here and I have so many different friends of different backgrounds, I have actually, it's driven me way closer to my Judaism because it's not now fully surrounding me. I have to seek it. Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why I do, because I kind of have to like go out of my way more and it's not handed there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially our generation is doing like a really good job at, but I think because we're more allowed to from not everywhere, but I think we're more allowed to have the choice of practicing our parents' religion or not. And so it's honestly really cool. Because I know a lot of people who grew up very religious while they were in high school or university or whatever, decided they didn't want to be anymore and then came back to it. Or there's some people that just stuck through it all the way and kept choosing it. And I think that's really powerful. And it's the best way I can describe it is like, I think it's called type 2 fun or whatever, right? Like when you're younger.
Oh.
No. Like I gotta describe it like camping, like as like a little kid. Like sometimes you're like, the mosquitoes, like complaining. But it does instill in you very good like practices, morals, all that kind of stuff, and then you kind of have to like choose to keep wanting to do it when you're older. But
well, that's kind of how everything is, right? Like you're raised a certain way, and then at a certain point, you get to decide what of those values you want to pass on to your kids. And how important are certain things, and that's when you weigh your own morality in terms with like nature versus nurture, right? Like, and it's kind of what defines you and what defines the way you were
exactly,
and what you want to continue. Because people often go one of two ways in a cycle. They either are like, this is perfect, I really like how this was done in my childhood, and I want to give these values to my kids, or they go, I want the opposite, and this is not something I could never. Yes, exactly, and like. Then they change and they fully do a 180, and this is 360. Not half to.
Yeah. And I think that can lead to amazing benefits, but I also think at the same time that could lead to a very big push for like extremism, because sometimes, let's say for example, because it's easier to explain it this way. Let's just say for example, I grew up from parents that were like super laid back, super conservative, and for some reason I wanted to be like super religious, like kind of I wanted the exact opposite, right? Then maybe, not all the time, maybe that can start to form a perspective within me where I kind of start to look down on people maybe who don't practice a religion or maybe my religion, or just hold the same opinion that I hold, which I think is pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like it's done out of the correct intention. It's like, I just want to like improve myself, want to improve that, but I think sometimes we can get lost along the way, and it's not even in a only religious sense. I think just like maybe it's just us becoming adults and becoming aware of it, but I feel these past couple of years, like let's say 10 years specifically, which I guess it kind of is just us becoming like aware adults of society, but whatever.
18.
Yeah. Yeah. In the last 10 years, I feel the world's just getting like really polarized in like any aspect, like religion, politics, everyday common opinions, getting canceled on the internet. Like, I don't know, just like anything and everything. So like, what's your,
I agree 100%. I think it becomes a very dangerous, societal way when people become so divided. And that's what has these like underlying aspects of discrimination, of hate, right? It all comes from like, I think I'm right and I think you're wrong. And that's a huge reason that we immediately became friends. And it was like those first conversations, which were we were talking, and it was whether we agreed with certain topics or not, it was the idea of like, let's have open dialogue. Because we want to learn and grow, and like we want to expand and being open-minded and getting to listen to other people, listening. You know, people often, you hear so much, and we're fed so much content every day, way more than we should be. We see way more. And half of it's true, half of it's not. Now we have to decipher from things that are biased and whatever, but that's not even the point. The point is, like, you know, we see way too much and we're becoming very desensitized to it. And we're also in these, you know, the echo chamber where you're only fed content that the algorithm knows that you should see. And then all of a sudden we're in this terrible cycle where you're only seeing like things on social media that align with your views.
Exactly.
And so of course they're going to reiterate it.
Exactly.
And that's like a huge even thing with AI. Like a huge way that AI functions is it regurgitates back to you what you want to hear, and it validates you. Like, great idea, Maya. Like, you know, take it from here.
That's why, like, completely unrelated side note. But sometimes, so when I hear people say like they trust AI completely for like their relationship advice, I could be like the worst person like to like girlfriend ever. Go tell them like some blah blah blah. Yeah, it's like, yes, you're completely right. You're like you're completely right. They're the problem. You need to be doing.
It would be like, good call, Jerome. You know, like, because they just well, they're literally trained to validate you so you stay typing, right? And so that's like a huge issue.
Yeah,
because then you're being fed only exactly what you know and what you think.
It's like completely circular reasoning going out and around, and I don't even think, I think the important thing to like truly understand this point we're talking about is that it's not even about if the information you're consuming within that echo chamber is right or not. Like maybe everything on like your TikTok For You page or your Reels page is like completely right. Like news wars.
There's no chance, you know?
News wars, it's definitely not. But like, let's just say hypothetically, right? Everything you were consuming was like perfectly factual and right and presented like amazingly. The problem is you lose connect with a whole part of society that aren't a part of that echo chamber that you're in. You watch a certain video that holds a certain opinion, and the opinion really doesn't have to be big, like at all. It can be like on whatever small scale.
It's serialistic.
Yeah. You know what? It is. Is it?
I don't know.
I say it is.
Okay.
Is it?
Who knows? It's gonna be like my whole thing. I know they're listening.
They're listening. They're definitely listening.
Honestly, it is. Yeah, probably.
But I think. Wait, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the algorithm sees you like watch a video all the way through, likes it. It's gonna give you another one, and so then you start to build this sense of like, wow, I'm like right all the time. And that's a really dangerous perspective to hold.
Absolutely. At like 100%. That's exactly like a huge issue. And that's why everyone is so divided, right? Because if you're being fed content that only you believe in, obviously then you have this now complex of I am right and everyone else is wrong. And they also are being told that they're right. And so now we have 1 million people who aren't even willing to have a conversation.
Exactly.
Because they're like, duh. Like, look at this. It's like, look at it, look what I saw, you know? And then it's like totally a problem.
100%.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, I think what's scary also, like, trust me, and I think you are too, we're very like opinionated people, which is a good thing. It's good to have opinions. I don't think
it's
good
sense
to
of
be.
Self.
Yeah, exactly. Sense of self. Like you shouldn't, if you like stand for nothing, fall for everything type vibe.
Is it like a Hamilton?
But something. I don't even know where it's from. I think it's from a movie. It's a really famous quote. Maybe someone listening knows.
Yeah.
No, where is that from? Now it's gonna bother me. Should I search it out? No, I'm too lazy. Anyways, it's important to have opinions, but when you're discussing a topic with someone, it could be about anything. It's important to have the narrative of, I hold information, this person has information. I believe that the information I hold is like correct. It's like a well-rounded, formulated opinion. But hey, I could be wrong about this. And this person could, and honestly, most of the time when it's like a decent, calm conversation, does have valuable information that I can take in.
Or, you know, not even like this, I could be wrong about this and I could be right about this, but it could also be like, you know, I'm curious what they have to say about this, or I'm curious their connection, you know, what made this person so fascinated by this topic. And I want to know why they learned this much. Because even though our views might differ, they clearly got their information from somewhere and they're trusting it for some reason. So what is leading them to have a certain belief is even a whole point in itself, right? You don't have to agree, and you don't have to even want to agree, but you could want to understand.
Exactly.
And that's like a whole nother like idea of, you know, open dialogue and how can I expand my brain? Because the people who are learning the most and the people who are the most like, you know, educated are people who are curious and are asking
100%.
questions. And
Never, like, the smartest people you're ever going to meet, they're
Yes.
not going to be closed-minded. They are
absolutely,
not
you
going
know,
to be
they want to
closed-minded.
learn more
Yeah.
and they want to expand more, and they don't want to, you know, search everything up and get it regurgitated back to them. They
Yeah.
want to have conversations. And that's also a huge, really important thing. Like our generation is like the COVID generation, right? So
Yikes.
every like we lost so much connection. And even if we don't see it now, everyone did.
It was very scary. Like, the only connection
Yeah.
I personally was having with my friends is like, it was like Zoom. Yeah, Zoom. And then the Zoom call would end. Maybe I'd like fall asleep or something, play Among Us with my guys for like 30 minutes, wrap it up.
Exactly.
So yeah, like 100%. Because yeah, that's a honestly excellent point. To
Thank you.
be able to say that, okay, you know what? Maybe this person like isn't willing to really sit down and like fully understand what I have to say, or not take away anything from this conversation. But it's also kind of that attitude of like, everything that you experience is like worthy of experiencing. You know, it's beautiful to live. It's beautiful to have a conversation with someone. Like, this is a real human life person that you're able to have a conversation with them. You're able to have a look into what they believe in, where their emotions lie. Like, that's beautiful. And so I think inevitably anyone is going to be put into a position at least once in their life, probably a lot more, where you're going to be having a conversation with someone and you're going to realize, hey, maybe they don't care that much about what I have to say. Maybe they're not really listening. But just because they choose not to take away anything from that conversation doesn't mean you have to choose that as well. You can sit down
Exactly.
and listen to yourself. Okay, let me understand why this person feels that way, even if you know that they aren't going to take anything away from
And-
the conversation.
You know, a huge like part to build off of that is the fact that, you know, feelings are a fact. And so you're entitled to feel a certain way with like the understanding and the duality of knowing that your feeling isn't necessarily true. And you can say, I feel this way. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah,
But you can't really invalidate someone's feeling
exactly.
as much as you can invalidate someone's opinion.
Exactly.
And so the idea of like, you know, understanding, whether you have to understand the opinion or not, you can understand the root feeling that led someone to have a certain opinion, whether they're firm or not in it. And even if the biggest takeaway of your conversation is, wow, I just had a great conversation, you know, you don't have to leave changing your mind.
Yeah.
That's often something that doesn't happen, but it's more the idea of leaving with, you know, humans are meant to connect. We're meant to have conversations. We're meant to, and that's also a huge issue with like the social media, whatever, if people are way more comfortable saying things that are like completely
whoa.
yeah, because they're hiding obviously behind the screen and
Yeah.
they're not face to face, and it's way harder to be like really aggressive if you're face to face because you're talking to someone, you know,
This
and
is real life. You realize, oh, well, there's like
Exactly.
real people behind the screen listening to what I'm saying. But I think even that in itself is just kind of like the way you're talking about how like humans are meant to connect, I think is a really important notion to have. And now, mind you, this is more like an option to like listen, like, you know, like if someone's like yelling at you and whatever, like you can walk with the conversation.
Yeah, I'm not-
Obviously, you know, you have stuff to do, you have feelings. Yeah. But I think it is powerful sometimes when you see a person who's kind of shut off to other opinions other than their own, not even because you're the one saying it, but kind of like they're very stuck in their ways. Oftentimes you have to try to ask yourself, why does this person feel so strongly about this like whole collective of opinions? And most of the time it's because what it boils down to essentially is they feel the most safe holding those positions.
Yeah, true.
That's what it boils down to. And so I think it's a really powerful experience for those type of individuals who are just more closed-minded, and I'm not looking down on them or anything, but it's a powerful experience to be a closed-minded person and be talking to someone, and kind of in the back of your mind, like, okay, I'm not really listening to what this person is saying, but they're still showing that almost like faith in you to sit down and like listen to what you're saying. Yeah, just like, oh wow, this person like cares about what I'm saying. I think that can go a long way. And I think that's kind of like, it's like kindness in conversation, even when you guys aren't able to
disagree. Like so much of it then you don't have to agree, and you can agree to disagree, and that's like, I feel like people often lose that plot, but it's okay to agree to disagree. You don't have to end every conversation changing everyone. It's not about change, it's about growth and about deeper understanding. And the people who have the most understanding of everyone, from whatever their culture, their background, are going to be the people who are the most successful, because they have like more of a psychological, I see where they're coming from. And those are people who have higher emotional intelligence and are, more in touch with themselves and with others.
Like you will never meet like if you meet a person who sits down and is open to listening to like all kinds of different people and stories, and like actually wants to understand the people they're interacting, those people are just like exuding like happy life energy
and confidence.
Like and confidence. Yeah, like then you're never finding like
absolutely
like, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
A lot of this is in this really good book that I just started. I'm not done yet. I'm not done at all. It's 101 essays that change the way you think, and it's really interesting so far. I've like been like annotating it, and I feel like there's a lot of like really good points to come back to. And one of the things that me and Jerome decided to talk about was the idea that like socially intelligent people don't argue with people who only want to win and not learn. And so it also says, I'll quote, that was a quote, and it also says, socially intelligent people know that not everybody wants to communicate, learn, grow, or connect, and so they don't try and force them. And so that's the concept of, if you're socially intelligent, you're not changing people's minds. And you also have the understanding that if people are really pushing something on you, they're not worth your time because they're not trying to grow the way that you are. And I think that's like, there's a lot of like really good takeaways.
There's a lot of bangers.
I recommend it to so many people.
Author is getting a crazy plug right now.
Exactly. Brianna Wiest. I don't know how to pronounce.
Wiest? I'm not sure. Shout out.
Anyways, it's really good. And there's like a lot of really good points. And it talks a lot about how, you can't really have these types of conversations either unless you're confident in yourself and building that sense of self first.
Because honestly, yeah, it does take a lot, I would say, of one, just like a strong sense of self, but also just like the ability to be calm, to kind of sit there and talk to someone that has like completely different opinions from you, because it can sometimes be frustrating. But like, yeah. Like the best way I think about it, because again, it doesn't even have to be about super grand, decisive topics to our society.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like, I have like a buddy of mine come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, I failed the test. I like totally deserve to pass. I'm like, okay. So are we sure about that? And like, I know they didn't study at all, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't need to change an opinion. If they want all that opinion, then who am I to stop that? Yeah, I'm not necessarily tackling every conversation trying to change their mind, but just trying to understand,
and then also like there's a sense of comfort. Be like, I get that feeling, I've been there.
Yeah,
like you'll be okay.
Yeah,
you're trying to put things into perspective.
On to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Honestly. This is going great. Great conversation. Great conversation. For context, for anyone listening, me and my wife sometimes have this like random conversations about like very big like topics of life.
I'll just like come by. I'm not going to still be like, I'm in a mood to converse.
Literally, in like very random times and stuff like that. And it's honestly really, really, really awesome. I encourage you, no worries. I encourage you guys to literally just talk to your friends more. And also, I think that everyone should start a podcast, genuinely. Because it's literally amazing.
Yeah.
And you
I
just
feel like it seems like it's like very therapeutic. You kind of just,
It is.
can I say
It's nice to just like, it's nice to have an opinion and then like just like talk it out. I don't know.
with yourself.
Yeah, you're just like talking.
Get out of your
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, you know, just like talk. Cause like this, going back to what you're saying all the way at the beginning, holy full circle. Wait, that's just a crazy thought. We're saying that we consume so much information every day, especially with TikTok, or honestly, whatever,
Everything.
especially TikTok. Like over the past couple of years, the amount of information we have been intaking has been like rapidly increasing, yet the amount that we actually talk about it and the amount that we talk our opinions
Absolutely.
has either stayed the same or gone down. So that's kind of like a change though.
You would think it would be the opposite. You'd think that the more we see, the more we discuss. But I think we often fail to, actually think about where we stand and who we want to be, what we want to represent. My teacher once in grade 11, my business teacher, was like, his whole concept that he would say to us every class was, everything you do is creating a brand for yourself. And every time you leave the house, and even when you're in the house, like, you are representing yourself and your own brand and your name and giving yourself a reputation, and choose what you want that to be, right? Because we have full autonomy, and that's what we were also talking about before, like neuroplasticity. Like we have the ability to like alter our minds and change the way we think, and not only the way we think, but like step into the person that you want to become.
And you have every single day, and you have every single day to make that decision to build yourself up as a person. And honestly, every single day, but
It's not gonna happen every day.
Oh yeah, not gonna happen every day, but any moment you have the decision to rebrand yourself.
It's true.
Like, talk your opinion. Please be nice about it, but like, talk your opinion. And like
the opinion paradox.
Yeah, the opinion paradox. I guess like at the end of the day, the opinion paradox is, like, we all have so much information fed to us constantly, and we all have these opinions that we want to say, yet the more information we take in, the less we say, and the more
exert
and the more we try to vocalize these opinions when it's not done correctly, it can sometimes push us away from other people, in turn giving us
growing.
Opinion. Yeah,
absolutely. The more we force it, the more people push back. And then you have this paradox where you're getting input so much, and you're trying to let things out and have that output, but you can't let things out in a way that's too forceful, or people will not appreciate it. People won't listen, and people will fight to win versus fighting to understand. And that's like that's huge. Yeah.
What's huge?
Changing the way I think. Well,
yeah, awesome. And what were you saying about that daily morning?
Okay, this is like interesting. It's kind of like an off topic, but it like came to me one day. There's a prayer in Judaism called Modeh Ani, and you're meant to say it the first thing you wake up. And I feel like the concept behind it is super interesting, because the whole plot of it is like, thank you for restoring me, like, thank you for giving me another day, God, right? Or higher power, and I think like that idea is super universal, in that nothing is a guarantee, and we make all these plans and promises, and we plan so far ahead, for your summer booked and everything's done, and next year, and what we want to do with our lives, but nothing is a promise, nothing is guaranteed to you. So we assume, we have so much assumption, but you aren't granted your next 20 minutes, you aren't granted your next hour, you aren't granted to wake up the next day.
100%.
And so what you're meant to do is, first thing when you wake up, you're meant to say this prayer. It's like, thank you for giving me another day. And I feel like that's super interesting, because, we really do take that for granted, that God forbid, like, you could die in your sleep.
Yeah.
And it's the idea of like,
honestly,
you could die in your sleep, but you woke up. So like, thank gosh, you know, like you were given another day, another chance. So I think that's super interesting in that every day is obviously a new beginning. It's like, as cliche as it sounds.
It is so cliche. It is so like
terrible. But it's more like the concept of have gratitude, because as much as we can plan ahead, and the more we try and hyperfixate and hyper plan our lives, the more we realize that we can't, and that things are going to be out of our control at a certain point. And so, you know, nothing's promised to you. So live each, like, take it all, you know, don't take any of it for granted, because you could have not had that experience.
Exactly.
You know, you weren't promised, like, nothing is promised to you.
Like nothing.
Nothing is promised to you, and nothing is deserved. Like, who's to say I deserve this and you don't?
Yeah, like anything you think you deserve, at the end of the day, we deserve absolutely nothing.
You know, and you could, and there's a difference between deserving something and earning something. Like, you could say, I worked really hard and I performed really well and I earned that. But you didn't deserve a good mark on a test if you didn't study. And so that's like a whole nother, you know,
a whole other thing.
Gratitude.
Yeah, but like because people could take it as a scary thought, but I think of it more beautiful. Literally what you're saying is like every time like you close your eyes on the pillow, you know, like obviously you're dreaming, you're like conscious, but it is kind of weird. You just like disappear for a couple of hours, 8 hours, and you just assume
I don't mind
you're everybody.
dreams.
Yo, what? They're missing out.
I know. I wish I did.
I remember like I usually have like really, really, really in-depth dreams. I remember it for like 30 seconds and then they're gone.
It's dark.
But also, well, yeah. But also what's super crazy, not to like scare you guys or whatever, but what I think about so much is how much like faith we put in each other's society by like driving or just like
I always can go driving.
Like I'm not a psychopath, but like if you're driving a car, you really do have the option to like kill anybody.
My mom has always said, like, when I started driving, she was like, this is a weapon. You know, like a car is so dangerous. Like literally are in this like huge vehicle, like, way bigger than you. And if there's people walking and they're like way more vulnerable. And
like, so you cross the street, you're just assuming the car's stopped at the red light, not just gonna punch the gas. And like that's a fair assumption, you know. Like I'm not saying don't have that assumption.
No fear.
Please cross the street safely and not anxiously. But there's just so many assumptions we make on just an everyday basis. And that can maybe like make us forget how amazing it is to be alive. How like insanely, ridiculously small the chance of like you actually being alive. How
was like how perfect everything had to be for you to be in this moment, and how much everything had to be in alignment in order for you to be exactly where you are in this moment and be healthy and safe, God willing, you know. And also like, you know, you have nothing if you aren't healthy. That's like the baseline always.
It's like for
yeah, it's even like when you have a cold, you're like, remember I didn't have a cold? Like,
oh my God.
Like,
and you get a cold, that's when you start appreciating life. Like,
exactly,
man,
literally.
when you have like a killing headache and a cold, you're just sniffling and like, that's when we start.
And it puts everything in perspective, because someone is always in the situation wishing they were in yours. So we wake up and we say thank you. Like, it's like, thank you for giving me another day that I didn't deserve, or I wasn't guaranteed, or I didn't earn, or whatever it is, you know. And like,
and I think sometimes what can take us away from that is like, one, the whole piece of like, oh, you wake up every day, but also some of the maybe negative stuff that could be going on in your life. Like, I don't know, like you have an exam or whatever and you're like, I really do not want to go through this day. Honestly, pretty much, there are some exceptions, but like a lot of the time later on in life, you look back and you realize that a big beauty of your days was some of the hardship. Like it's crazy enough, we're gonna look back and like, wow, taking exams in university, wow, what a great time.
We killed it.
Yeah, we killed that. Like walking around in like Canadian winters and you're like shivering to death. Like it's a part of it.
It's all a part of the experience.
Exactly.
And you don't have the highs if you don't have the lows.
Exactly.
Because then you don't have the difference. And so if you don't have those dark moments where you're like, this is really hard, then it's so much less fun when you get to go out and be with your friends. Because if everything is plainer all the time, there's nothing to compare it to. You know, you need a baseline of something that's really hard to understand how nice it is when something's really easy.
Exactly.
The duality. Humanity.
Yeah. I recently saw this like one of those like positivity TikToks was like one of the clips and like a quote on
Yeah.
screen, and it really stuck with me. But it said that everything is a win in life when the goal is to experience. When you just like, yeah, hey, probably not the exact same here. It's like, okay, some of the stuff I'm saying are like so like, it honestly is super cliche, super basic. You can find on the internet.
We're general.
But it is important. It actually is important to remind yourself on day to day.
Yeah.
Um,
And obviously, you know, with boundaries, it's not gonna happen every day. Like that's why I always struggle with like the idea of journaling, because I can't just promise myself that every day I'm gonna sit down and write 6 essays. And they talk about it in this book, and they're like, instead of writing 6 essays and saying you're gonna commit to something that's way too hard for you to actually follow through with and be consistent, you're better off writing 1 line a night and being like, I'm grateful for one thing today. And then there's always like a little bit. I haven't done that yet, but I'm not trying to be like the all-knowing.
Yeah.
But there's obviously like, you know, there's ways to break things down. It's not gonna happen overnight. You don't just wake up and have like clarity. You know, it's not, and you shouldn't, because part of it is learning.
It's growing, and you have your whole life to do it. Like life is too short to like be stuck in your ways and not grow. But at the same time, life is honestly so long to not grow. Like you have so many opportunities to grow.
Yeah, you're given.
So, yeah.
You're placed in situations that you're capable of and that you can come out of and grow.
100%.
And, you know, that's why you meet certain people. Everyone comes into your life, you know, hopefully for a reason or to teach you something. And it's not, that's not necessarily like obviously a fact, right? I'm not saying everyone comes into your life to teach you a certain lesson, but you can extract a lesson from every conversation you
Again,
have.
it's the choice.
Exactly. And it's like, you can mold your own perception because it's your own perception, right? What's in your head is your choice. To a certain extent, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like
exceptions, yeah.
Well, let's like make that really clear.
There are exceptions.
These are not like truths. They're opinions, because
they are opinions.
They're perception.
Yeah.
So my perception is, you know, a certain way, and we can change that.
Yeah.
Nothing's set in stone.
Awesome sauce.
What else? What else is on the list?
I think that would be the whole list.
Wow.
Well, that was freaking amazing.
Yay! Thank you.
I hope you guys really, really, really enjoyed this episode. Shout out to my Fuerstenberg.
Thanks for having me, Jerome.
Well, no worries at
I
all.
told everyone about this podcast.
Okay, hopefully they're listening. Hopefully they liked it. And yeah, remember to just do you, live life, be happy.
Yeah.
All that jazz.
Wow, that was great.
Yeah.
My podcast debut.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye, crew.